Welcome everyone. Today I'm going to help you to master Sebring in the hypercar, and as you see, the car we picked for today is the Lamborghini hypercar. My name is Gregor Schill. I'm a professional test driver and coach for the Coach Chef Academy and also an esports driver for the BS Plus competition esports team. So, without further ado, let's dive right into it. And as you know, a good hot lap or qualifying lap always starts already in the last corner in the previous lap. So what do we do here is we try to stay a bit longer on the outside than normal, cut into the inside here, and then floor the car and open the steering wheel as early as we can, because this will give us a better exit than if we would drive the normal line, which helps us to gain a bit of top speed on the start finish straight and can gain us crucial thousands on our flying lap. When we start now the flying lap, we try to keep the car as close as possible on the right side here. And just before the wall stops here on the right side, that's where we brake to around 40-50% and then trail slightly into the apex here. We don't really brake here that hard because there's so much downforce, we don't need to really slow the car that much down. And what we do here is we try to aim for the 0 feet symbol. You see there? If you look on the left side, you see the Rolex wall, and just above there you see the 0 meter board. And this is where we aim for, because we don't want to enter early as the corner is closing up. We need to drive quite a late apex, otherwise we will just end up waiting way too long till we can essentially go onto the power. So we really try to essentially arrive here. That is the apex basically. So you see the 0 sign there, that's our reference point, that's where we want to be on the inside. And then what we do is we try to open the steering and run wide here on the exit. After turn 1, we try to aim for the 300 feet sign here. So just when the car is level on that, that's when we start to brake. And now it's fundamental that you don't turn into early because it's a really late apex. So don't try to arrive on the inside here where the curb starts. No, stay a bit longer on the outside and then cut back just about where the curb starts to end actually, so you can drive here over that. Then for this side right-hander, try to drive the tightest line you can here. Sometimes you can clip the curb, depends on the setup you run, sometimes not. But the most crucial part is that you try to keep it left here, so you can open up here this left-hander. So you just tap the brake slightly to get some load onto the front axle. And then again, really late apex on the power aggressively and maximize the track here on the exit. As I know, that's quite a hard section to master in the hypercar. We'll have a look at that section again in Delta. And you see we arrive here at full throttle, brake quite hard initially, trail off to help the car essentially, have some continuous load on the front axle. And also, of course, we need to reduce the brake pressure because we don't want to lock up the tires as we have no ABS, right? And you see here really well how late the apex is actually, which we use. Aggressively on the power, and then the most important part, keep it to the right here. So you can then just have a slight gentle braking application as you see to around 50%, and then you trail it off. And when you arrive at the apex, you can floor the car quite confidently. But you can only do that, of course, if you pick the late apex. If we go into the data tab, you see it also really well how important the trail braking phase is here to really maximize the braking and the rotation at the same time. So, now as we've finished the section, we want to keep the car here as tight as possible, and as soon as the corner stops, we try to run wide to the left side. This hairpin is now really tough in the hypercars because you see the car is bouncing a lot, so you need to watch out when you brake as you have no ABS. So you rather get a bit earlier out of the brakes than too late, as you don't want to lock up, of course. So what we do here is we see the 400 feet sign. When we are level on that, we will start to brake. And the best part about Sebring is we have those white lines on the tarmac, right? And they are basically on the same level as those braking points or braking point markers. So just when we are on this white line, essentially, that's where we start to brake. So really strong and hard full brake force. Really late turn in because we want to maximize our exit here. And you see here also we have a yellow sausage on the apex, which we don't want to clip as this will unsettle the car. So only maximize here the white and blue curb. And what a lot of hypercars love here is like maybe a short shift from first to second gear. because now it doesn't work because of the protection, but if you arrive in the normal speed, you will see it also in the Hotlap later on. The short shift is quite beneficial. Then really crucial that you've done the rotation until the apex of the hairpin, so when you arrive here you have already a straight steering wheel and can floor the car as early as you can. And you see the car is bouncing a lot, so that's why it's so tough here with the braking in the Lamborghini especially. This left tender is flat. After that one we keep it to the left side, and just between the 400 and 300 feet markers, that's where we start to brake. Again, really late apex because the corner is closing up. Don't clip the curb here, because in the hypercar, in my experience, it unsettles the car too much. Maximize the track here. Don't run though too wide here in the hypercar, because you don't want to clip the curb too aggressively here on the left side, as this will unsettle the car. Now, through this section, it's important that you bring the car over as quick as possible on the left side, so you can start braking here parallel to the white line. And just like, I would say 10-15 meters before the curb here starts, that's where you start to brake. Try to not take the curb here on the left side, because it will pull you out of the corner. When you turn in here again, late apex, get the car into the banking. This will help you a lot with acceleration out of the corner. When you arrive at the apex, floor the car, maximize the track here on the exit. This section is easily flat out. Try to keep the car quite tight here to the left. And when you arrive here, watch out for the 300 feet marker. That's your braking point. When you turn in here, try to not aim for the white line, but you want to rather get the car here over the curb slightly, so the inside tires is basically on the right side here of the curb. Why do we do that? This helps a lot with rotation here, because it pulls the car around. So by doing that, you are able to carry much more speed through the corner than if you wouldn't do that. And the same applies here for the second part. It's just like basically now going to the left. So we want to again put the inside wheel on the left side of the curb here, so the car gets pulled around. And then here, really important, stick to the white line in terms of track limit. So this is valid, this would be invalid. Quite a late turn-in point here. And when you arrive here on the inside, the same pattern applies again. So put the inside tire onto the right side here, so you can really maximize the curb and help with the rotation. Just be careful, the track limit is here quite aggressive, so don't cut too much, because you will invalidate your lap time. And then aggressively on the power, maximize the track on the exit. Don't drive onto the grass, it can be a cut. And then you're done with the section. I know, as this section is quite tough to master, we'll have again a look at this one in Delta. So you see quite aggressively into the brakes initially, and then a really long trail braking phase to get the car to the inside where we want it to be. And also the quick drop here is also because of the, all of the bumps in the road. The car is just really unsettled, so we can't brake really hard for a long time as we would lock up otherwise. So that's why it's a bit trickier in the braking on Sebring. And then when we arrive at the apex, full power as quick as we can, keep it to the left. And then again, it's just a slight braking phase here, just around 70% initial peak braking, and then quite quick trail off, because we slowed the car down enough, and we just need now a bit of load, which we get with this trail braking phase onto the front axle to help the car to get through the corner. And when we arrive here at the apex, we can apply the power quite aggressively, because we picked the late apex, and this allows us to open up the steering also in time to essentially do this throttle application. So now only one corner left before we are done with the lap. And from my personal experience, it's also a corner where I struggled a lot in the past, because it's so easy to lose time by underdriving or pushing too hard. So both of those extremes result in massive time loss. And that you don't do these mistakes, I will give you now a really important tip. And the tip is essentially, first of all, we want to break the corner just down into simple parts. So first part, keep the car on the left side here. And when you, just before you reach the 200 feet sign, you point the car towards the yellow line at the apex. You'll see it quite here. You see this yellow here, this yellow line, that's your reference point where you want to put the nose from the car. So flick the car into this direction. So we do that here. First step done. Then you see the 100 feet sign. That's our braking reference point. Just before we drive over the white line there, that's where we start to brake. And then we follow the nose of the car for a bit. As we start to turn in here, it's important that you trail off already because of all the bumps and the speed loss you have. It's quite hard to brake strong, as you will most of the time just lock up. So trail brake till the apex here, and when you arrive here on the inside yellow line here, you know you've done everything right. Then you can apply the power, run wide, and then you're done essentially with the lap. I hope you guys enjoyed this lap guide. If you have any questions, drop them into the comment section. If you want to compare your own lap against the lap I use, make sure to check Delta out. In case you want to watch how a quick lap looks around this track in the Lamborghini, make sure to watch the video until the end. There you'll see my teammate Alan Tutzig driving a really awesome lap in the Lamborghini around Sebring. Other than that, thanks for tuning in, and I hope I see you in the next one. Bye bye.